Okay, we're going to blaze through this because I'm really not sure how many minutes I've got. What you see on the screen is the palette that we'll be using. I'll put this on a separate email so you won't have to write it down now. But we're working on Winslow Homer's watercolor, a wall Nassau, one of his looser and more casual watercolors. Okay, and as Marv knows, because he saw the contraption that I set up to work on this painting demo, I'm working under a board that's over the kitchen table, and it's a lot of fun. I don't recommend it, but it works. Okay, first thing, I'm going to get some sky in, and what I want to do is, as Homer did, have the left side of the sheet a little bit, the sky that is, a little bit darker, because on the right hand side you're going to have these red-orange flowers, right? And you don't want to have to try to work too much into them later on. Anyway, so there you have the sky. I'm going to dry that up a little bit. Okay, and then I want to put in the water. He has the water fairly high on the horizon, and I'm going to stop it where that flower will be. The flower is going to go later on. I don't want to run into that too much. And you can see it's running up a little bit. That's okay. You can take more time with yours. And then I will put in a little bit lighter blue underneath it as he did, and again just sort of touch around that flower there. Okay. So, all right, now, the side of that wall there, that entryway, is, it looks like a sort of a blue-green, so I'll use some French Ultra with a little bit of Hooker's Green in it. And then I'm going to go right up here. I think I'll switch to a softer, smaller brush, more controllable brush. And I want to get in some of these, the suggestion of soft blue foliage that he has in the distance. And again, it's running a little bit. You can take more time and just carry that over a tiny bit. And then what he's got there is a fairly dark area here where the wall meets the foliage, okay? And that dark helps highlight that fancy turret, whatever you want to call it. And then from that dark, I'm going to add some green. I'm working, here I'm working dark to light, obviously, so I'm working from the dark into the green, and that green, I'm going to add a touch of that raw umber to that green, just sort of gray it down a little bit. And as I move across here, I want to reserve the whites of those what will become leaves, blossoms later on. Okay. So I'm just working around those. A little bit more. Put some touches of that green up in here. And if if you inadvertently cover up too much of the white that you've reserved for those blossoms, you can probably lift it later on. It's not a big deal, I don't think. It's a study, and the object of the exercise is to learn something about how he was constructed this. Okay? All right. Go over here to the left of this painting, and over there is a combination of colors. It's a little bit of, it's like, what I'm doing is I'm mixing some burnt sienna and a little bit of hooker's green, and also some raw umber, and just suggesting these faint leaves, or the leaves, foliage, whatever you want to call it, over here, on top of this left turret, that wall. And it looks as though he just sort of mixed up some of the colors here for the sake of variety. Little touches suggesting leaves, and if you vary the colors a little bit, it'll seem somewhat more realistic. And this actually, it looks as though he brings that over here to highlight the left edge of this right turret, and some more touches of leaves. Okay, get the idea. This would be a good time to get in here. Now, most of this is earth tone, picking up the foliage here and going into grass. But the really important thing, and the reason I'm going here now, is I want to get a really dark in here. This is my darkest dark so far, and that helps me decide how dark or light the wall needs to be. But I think in here it's going to help even more, because that's where he has his darkest area. So I'll start with a little bit of earth tone, and have the earth tone go into some green, and then and down here is where I'm going to mix some blue. I'll go blue and French Ultra and burnt sienna, and that gives me a very dark. So I got that dark right in here, and this is shadow from behind the wall, and it spills out into and behind this left upright, and just a trickle of shadow under that, and then it sort of feathers softly over on this side. Okay. All right, I'm going to go up into the flowers on the right. I'm using Windsor red, which is a very warm red, and I'll put a touch of I'm putting a touch of raw umber in it just to knock it back a little bit so it's a little bit more more like an Indian red, okay? And I can't see my marks anymore. I don't really know where the flowers are. So when you do this at home, just be a little bit more careful and just follow the lead from Homer. And you know, we're not trying to do a forgery here. This is a study, so you don't need to make it exactly like his, and you can experiment if you wish and change colors. I think the most important thing is to see how he constructed this. What do you believe he was thinking as he laid these colors down? And certainly in this case, these reds help carry the eye across, right? They help carry your eye across the sheet. And I added one down here that he doesn't have, so I'd like to see one spilling over the wall. And just because I like having colors carry, I'm going to put a touch of red here where he doesn't have it, maybe one here. So now I've got red that runs all over the place. And I'm going to put a touch down here, just to, he doesn't have it there, but this is the sort of thing Homer did quite often. He'd put color repeats around the sheet. So if it works, put it there. Okay. The walls are pretty much an off-white, and to get an off-white, I'm going to mix a little cobalt with a tiny, tiny bit of raw umber, and that's, so I got sort of a gray here, right? Gray, I let that gray spill over onto this wall, and oops, a little bit too much blue. I'll just darken that up for this side of that wall. That's going to run a little bit, but you can dry in between. And here I've got shadow side of this tart. And I'll go over here, put the turret in, and